What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video on the Hooked On SuperCoach channel. I'm your host Fish, and today I'll be discussing a EPL SuperCoach video. We'll be discussing the Game Week 24 review and looking ahead towards Game Week 25 and seeing what we can do to push inside the top 50 for the first time this year. But without further ado, let's get stuck right into today's video. So kicking us off here on the home screen, we can see we had a pretty good Game Week 24 score. So we ended up scoring 137 points there, which gave us actually a week rank of 540, which is pretty good. However, up the top, it seems like pretty much everyone did really well this week, and so I only saw a slight green arrow from 61 to 52 now. So we're sitting just outside the top 50 now, sitting in a season rank of 52. So pretty happy with how it's all travelling. Managed to save trades as well last week. So happy with kind of how the week went. So let's have a look at what worked and what went right for last week. So yeah, see, there's always one matchup that you don't win despite having a pretty good score there. So yeah, 137's won me 4 out of 5 head-to-heads for the week. And yes, put me on a nice little green arrow to sitting just outside the top 52. So let's discuss what went right, what went well, and what we are looking to do for the next game week. So kicking us off here in net and sort of defence, we have the Arsenal boys, and we're actually repping the jersey today for them. Big Arsenal. They played well. We kind of all got the news late that Saka was not going to be playing. He got injured in the warm-up, and Mariakwe ended up playing instead. And he played pretty well, got a couple of assists. In saying that, I know, I'm just going to jump straight into it. Saka, I think he's the most traded out player this week. Yeah, most traded out player in my team at least this week. Don't do it. Just do not do it. Do not understand it at all. Unless, there's one caveat to this, unless we get news confirmed that he's going to be missing a certain amount of time. Otherwise, I think he's a great option still moving forward. He should still be on pens. I get that he's super frustrating. I've been frustrated with him as well. Let's have a look. We can see when I traded him in. It was in week 13. I traded in Malin and Saka, and I traded out Pedro and Salah. So yeah, Saka hasn't done much for me. He's been a super frustrating home, but he's still been consistent, like an average score there of 8.7. Some good weeks, some bad weeks, and at least this week he didn't play at all, so Semenyo actually ended up coming on for him there. But yeah, look, Saka do not sell. Arsenal are not confirmed yet, so just for a bit of pre-warning context for the viewers, I'm recording this on Tuesday night, so before the EFL Cup game tomorrow morning with Arsenal versus Chelsea and City versus Newcastle. I just thought I'd better get this video out before I have to do some of my post-grad assessments. And so yes, at this point in stage, we don't know for sure who is going to be blanking and doubling. However, going off bookies odds, we can assume that it'll be Arsenal. So if Arsenal win this game here, if they go through to the final, same as City. If Arsenal and City go through, Arsenal at least will be doubling in game week 26. And if Chelsea win, Chelsea will be doubling in 26. And so that fixture is Chelsea versus Everton. That will end up doubling in game week 26. And then it will be Arsenal versus Wolves if Arsenal end up doubling in 26 there. So depending on who wins tomorrow versus Chelsea and Arsenal will determine who ends up doubling in game week 26. And so, as I said there, according to the bookies odds, it's looking like Arsenal are heavy favourites to go through and progress to the final there. And so they'll end up doubling in game week 26. And if they do end up doubling, I think you're going to want as many Arsenal players as you can have. And so yes, that's just trying to caveat. We'll go forward to it soon with the buys, holds, sells for the weeks and looking at the 10 most bought and sold players. But yes, just want to get it out the bat. I know a lot of people have been frustrated with Saka, myself included. However, I'm urging patience with him. especially with the doubles coming up there. We got a bit derailed there, so back to the back line. Raya, Gabriel, Timber, they won 4-0 Arsenal against Leeds it was on the weekend, and so yeah, they kept the clean sheet intact, and so clean sheet points for all Gabriel, Raya and Timber, and so very, very happy to have those in defence. You can see there I ended up holding Dorgu. I didn't want to move or didn't want to trade him just yet. Just because I wasn't sure on who I wanted to trade to. I was pretty keen on Matty Cash, and I believe he ended up scoring 9 points, I think it was. So pretty consistent, pretty solid score there, especially considering they conceded and they lost 1-0. So 9 points in base in a game where they conceded is pretty good going for Matty Cash there. So he's certainly still on my interest list, and certainly a player I am interested in buying moving forward there. So instead we played, so the option was between Guehi or Munoz. Turned out to be much of a muchness. Both ended up scoring 5 points. Guehi played pretty well though, and I'm pretty happy with him moving forward, especially with City's fixtures opening up in the next couple. However, there is a caveat which was actually well pointed out by a viewer, last subscriber, I think it's Lockie. He pointed out to me that game week 31, so if Arsenal do end up doubling in 26, they will blank in game week 31. And if they blank, I think City are also meant to blank. And so I'll be in a bit of strife in defence. So yes, I'm looking at, because I believe in that game week as well, it's City versus Palace. So I'm actually without a defender at this point in time. Yeah, City versus Palace. So I might have to look into that a bit further moving forward. However, it really does just depend on who doubles in game week 26. Like if Chelsea double, we'll have to end up probably bringing in Reece James or Cucurella just because of that double. And then that way, game week 31, the Arsenal players won't blank. So again, really, really dependent here on sort of this fixture in the EFL Cup, Arsenal versus Chelsea and City Newcastle. I can assume, because I'm recording this ahead of time, Arsenal are going to win 3-1 at home, and then City are going to win as well, probably 2-1 there. So that's most likely what the fixtures are going to be, and so if that does end up being the case, yes, I will be in a bit of strife, and it's something is on the radar. So yeah, shout out to you, Lockie. Thanks for pointing that out. And so yeah, nothing I have to address or do anything soon. However, it's just something to keep in the back of the mind when I'm looking to planning ahead, especially considering I've only got 10 trades left for the rest of the season. I do have 3 boosts, so I can pretty much max boost and then have 1 trade left over. So yeah, I really think I want to be strategic and plan my last sort of 10 trades out really, really well there. Especially if I want to push on into the top 50 there. But yes, all in all, happy with the back line for the week. Dorgu, as I said, might look to move on, maybe to a Matty Cash, maybe to a Cucurella. However, we'll get to that a bit more, maybe in the trade targets. Moving on to midfield, I said Bruno's the guy this week. What does he do? Gets 2 assists. Could have had a penalty as well there, so it could have been an even bigger return. However, wasn't meant to be for Bruno there. However, him in the 10, I don't know why United for the past 4 years haven't been playing him in the 10, but Bruno playing in the 10, he makes United such a better team, and it makes him as well such a better player. He's just so more creative and attacking, and so yeah, with Bruno in the 10 currently for United, they are looking really good, and so he's certainly someone, if you don't own, I don't know what you've been doing for the past couple of weeks, bring him in, captain him. He's a very safe option. Declan Rice, 9 points. Bit of a blank, no complaints, 9 points, did nothing in attack there. They kept the clean sheet, so pretty much entirely in base for Declan Rice there. Onto the Chelsea boys. Chelsea-West Ham, what a game that was. And so with the Saka news, I actually missed it. I was out and about on Saturday night, but I ended up, I think it was like 2 or 3 a.m. I checked the app and I saw that, yeah, Saka wasn't in the squad, was benched completely. And then I also saw that Bowen and Palmer and Enzo were all starting in that Chelsea-West Ham game. And so I had an option. I could have played Munoz sort of over Bowen, but I decided to back Bowen in. He's been playing pretty well and he's also on penalties. I thought I'd back him in and it kind of paid off there very nicely. So because, I was originally going to be playing Semenyo and Bowen was benched, as you can tell from last video. However, with the news that Saka was benched, laid out, Semenyo was going to come in automatically. And so, it means I kind of got a free go with Bowen this week. And did he deliver there? So, scored a goal there with 16 points. That's back-to-back returns now for Bowen. He's on penalties and he's all of a sudden looking like a pretty good option in midfield. I know he's been quite frustrating, especially as an owner myself this year with Jared Bowen. However, the fact that he's now got the penalties full time that Paqueta has gone, it makes him just that much more of a better option and means that any week really he can return. Especially this week coming up against Burnley, I think that's a great fixture. And even moving forward, I think he's one of those players that you can sort of play based on matchup. But again, as we saw there, West Ham have been playing pretty well recently. So might even be fixture proof. So I will definitely be playing him this week. But yes, a nice 16-pointer from there, coming off the back of the 23 last week. Puts him in a pretty good spot with a negative 13 break even. So I'll get to it later in the trade targets, but he'd certainly be someone of interest if I didn't own. Enzo Fernandez, again, is that back-to-back 13 pointers? I think it is. No, 15 pointers, so 15, 15, 13. So he's been in some really good form. I've been banging on sort of Chelsea's fixtures for the next 4, West Ham, Wolves, Leeds, Burnley. They're perfect. You couldn't want anything more. Load up on them. However, after that, it does get a bit tough. So you will probably have to trade a couple of your Chelsea players there. In saying that, I think Enzo's looking everything like a keeper. He's playing well. He's got that attacking creative threat. He's also nailed and on penalties when Palmer isn't on the pitch. So, don't know quite what's happening with Palmer's minutes this year. Just injury concerns, rotation, them playing in all the sort of leagues and cups and FA Cups. There is just managing the minutes, I suppose. But yeah, for 4 points in 90 minutes on the weekend, definitely disappointed, especially as I VC'd him. However, you just got to keep the faith, as I said there. Palmer, they've got 3 good fixtures coming up, or the Chelsea players do. Hold the faith for the next 3, and then we can reassess moving forward there. So yeah, look, 4 points, ultra disappointing against West Ham. However, he's going to bounce back. He's got the fixtures to do it. Let's have a bit of faith in the man there. So, yeah, that covers defence midfield. And then, in attack, Haaland, 11-pointer. He got an assist. And then Semenyo, my trade-in from last week, came on for Saka with a goal. And he looks to be playing pretty well at City. And he's also playing up front. So, it's actually... Well, recently the way they've been lining up, it's been Semenyo and Haaland up top, and I really like that as a pick. Especially Semenyo's just been killing it this year. He's been playing so well, and sort of City's fixtures moving forward are pretty good, and so he's certainly someone that I can just play based on matched up there or rotate through. So yes, that kind of recaps the week that was. 137 points there. We've got 5 mil in the bank for this week. Let's have a look at what we're looking to do this week. But before we do, let's have a quick shout out to the league. And so if you guys are still listening right now, I urge you guys to subscribe. So I think 80% of viewers are not subscribed. Only 20% are subscribed. So if you enjoy the content, we appreciate a subscribe. It costs nothing and it really helps boost the channel, especially with the NRL season coming up shortly. I know we've got trials on this weekend, so get ready for some NRL season SuperCoach preseason content coming up shortly. So yes, quick shout out to the league. Join if you haven't already, 700950. And we can see Big Huss in first place, absolutely killed it again. So he had a nice green arrow. He is so far in front. He is let's actually have a look how far in front he is. Almost 60 points. So he's doing pretty well there. Big Huss is in one of the Discords I'm in, so shout out to you, Huss. And the real caveat for him this week was Ekitike. Ekitike, as I was saying in last week's vid, with the Ekitike to Pedro sort of trade, look, with the forwards, these players are just so frustrating. So I'm just urging you guys to just hold your trades. There's no rush. Unless they're injured, there's no rush to move them on unless the roles have changed or the change of fixtures or something like that. If they're just out of form, I really do urge you to hold, because we've seen with Ekitike, with Semenyo, with Bowen, these players can kind of find form just like that. He also benched Cucurella, so I know a lot of super coaches above me actually got Cucurella's jam. So if you didn't know, he was benched on the weekend. However, they were the 3:30 or 5:30 game. I can't remember. I was at the casino at the time, and I saw him come on. His score is sore. I saw him score there, and it was just pain. I was kicking myself because I knew I considered him as an option, but especially with the benching there, wasn't going to play him, wasn't going to bring him in. And I know if you were active at that time, you certainly would have benched him. However, if you didn't, if you weren't up and active, you would have just played him, assuming he would have started. You would have woken up to a nice 19 points there off 10 minutes. So, yeah, look, his side's looking good. Very similar defence. I think the only differences there are Hall and Cucurella. Same backline, sorry. Same midfield and same attack, apart from he's got Ekitike and I've got Semenyo there. So I think it's getting to that point of the season now where all the sort of players at the top, like myself in that top 1% there, a lot of the teams are very, very similar. So it kind of comes down to pod options, you sit start for the week, and sort of any pods you've still got. So looking at my team, I think my best pods are probably Gawahi and Munoz, along with Cole Palmer there with Semenyo. So I've got a couple pods in there. We just kind of need them to return. So yes, let's have a look at the 10 most brought players in and out for the week. So looking at traded out first. Number one, no doubt, it is going to be Bukayo Saka. However, as I've mentioned multiple times this video, just hold off with him. We haven't got any injury news confirmed. I believe there will be a press conference probably this morning, either before or after the FA Cup game for Arsenal. And so yeah, if Arteta says that he's good to go, it was just a light injury and he should be back for the weekend, hold. Even if he says he might miss this weekend, I would probably still hold, especially with Arsenal having that double in game week 26. So they've got a great fixture this week, Sunderland. And then, yeah, if they win, they'll have Brentford and Wolves. So you certainly will want him for those games. And so, yeah, I'd urge to just hold the trade unless he's confirmed out for like the rest of the season or months out. I definitely would be holding that trade. And if he's not starting this weekend, you can look to just bench him. And so, yeah, that is just the way I'd play that. Number two, Phil Foden. Wowee, has he dropped. He's down to 6 million now, which is crazy considering he was like 15 million just a couple of months ago. But we've seen back-to-back benchings now for Philly Foden. And yeah, I think his spot in the squad is gone as a starter, I think. I think Cherky's playing better than him, and I also think Semenyo is playing better than him. So, yeah, look, this is a sell. It's probably two past now gone though. There's no value there. You're selling him for 6 million. However, he's got a break even of 14, so he's going to lose even more cash. Probably. However, I think if I had Foden still, I would just look to hold and be one of those players I would be playing on matchups. So with SuperCoach, we obviously can change the teams just up until kickoff. So if we get the news that Foden's starting, you can easily play him, and you can probably play him with a bit of confidence there as well. So yeah, look, I don't like that trade out. I think the time to have traded him has passed. If you still have him, I get it. Super frustrating. However, I'm preaching a bit of patience. And so, yeah, I think if you got him, just hold, reassess with the team list. If he's benched again this weekend, you probably can sell. Just move him on there because he's not doing anything, and it's hard to move an upgrade from that price point. There. Number 3, I got Thiago. So, isn't it funny, Supercoach, man? He was the most traded out, then in, then out, then in, then out, then in player this year, and now he's back on the traded out. No, don't trade him out. What are you guys doing? Just hold him. Like, I know the fixtures for the next couple I think are a little bit tough. However, he's the second highest striker this year. He's the key talisman for Brentford, and he's also the penalty taker. So yeah, 2 sort of tough fixtures with Newcastle, Arsenal. However, after Brighton, it really does open up with Burnley, Bournemouth, Wolves, Leeds, Everton, Fulham, United, West Ham, City, Palace, Liverpool. And I'm actually looking at bringing him in for Saka, and I think it will be after the sort of game week 26 double, see with what happens there, and I'll be looking to move to him there. So yeah, I hate the trade out. I get he's got a big break even. However, he's someone I'm kind of be looking to bring in a couple weeks, and I just don't think it's worth the trade to trade him back out and back in again. I do suspect he'll probably end the top 3 scorers for the year at striker. And so yeah, I hate that trade. I'd be looking at bringing him personally there. Not this week. You don't need a rush to bring him in. As I said, I think Saka to Thiago in 2-3 weeks is going to be a great trade for you listeners and for players like myself there. That's certainly something I will be looking at. Number 4, Dorgu there. Again, no urgency on the trade out. Well, probably a bit more urgency than Foden and Saka and Thiago. We know he's out for 10 weeks. However, I just don't think there's anyone really putting their hand up in defence as a trade-in option yet, especially with the doubles unconfirmed and with the blanks in 31. A lot of us having the Arsenal assets, if they do end up doubling, I will probably want to move for Dorgu onto someone that doesn't double that week, so at least I can have a singular player playing in defence at least. However, if say Arsenal end up losing and Chelsea win, I will definitely want a Chelsea defender because Chelsea will end up doubling in game week 26 there. So Dorgu is just a bit of a placeholder for me at the moment. I get the sell. If you've got a defender to buy, you can easily move him on there. Number 5, Granit Xhaka. Again, is out, injured. Tough matchup this week and next week with Arsenal and Liverpool. However, I actually don't mind him as a pod. But if you need someone to trade and if you're trading out a midfielder, I get it. However, I don't mind him being a pod option. I think he's scored pretty consistently all year. Let's just have a quick look at averages. There he is, Granit Xhaka. He's got a 9 average, so that's up there. Like, it's above Szoboszlai, it's above Reece James, it's above Saka, it's above Bowen. So that just goes to show I don't like that trade out. I get he's injured. I'm not quite sure on any of the news with him. Let's just have a quick look, see if there's any news with his injury. He's ruled out for the Arsenal clash. So yeah, look, you can sell him if you got someone to trade him to. However, same as Dorgu really. If you've got no one to trade him to, or you just want a placeholder for now, more than capable option. And when he comes back, I think it'll be a good pod for you there. So yeah, get the trade out if you need to there. Number 6, Bruno Guimaraes. It's the rinse and repeat sort of for the trade outs so far this week. Yeah, look, no rush. If you still have Bruno Guimaraes, I probably would hold. I think he's a great option. As we can see with averages, he is one of the highest scoring averaging players this year. He's been out injured. Not sure with any of the injury news or updates with him. However, if he's back soon, I think he could hold, and he'll be a very nice pod if you do own. Again, for context, I'm recording this on Tuesday night, so game week's just opened, and so the trade outs will probably change a lot after the FA Cup games, and especially if there's any news. However, I just thought I'd get this video out for you guys a bit earlier as well. Let's see how it works with engagement, if it gets better views and whatnot there. And yeah, Ollie Watkins in 7. This is a trade you probably can trade out. I think I think I can get around this trade. So he's injured. Villa have also signed Tammy Abraham, so he's going to be rotated, so he's not locked in for 90 minutes, and at 9 mil, there's still enough value there for him to be moved on. So yeah, the Ollie Watkins trade, I think that's probably the first trade that I can definitely agree with trading out this week. Diaz, well, it's the same as Dorgu. If he's not playing, so if you need a player or a defender, you can move him on. However, same as Dorgu for me, is just a placeholder for now and a loop option sort of there. Caicedo in 10, hate this trade out. I had him at the start of the year. He has stopped scoring goals and whatnot. However, they've got the fixtures, right? Wolves, Leeds, Burnley in the next 3. Just hold any of your Chelsea players. Hold all your Arsenal players until we see what's happening with game week 26. And if they're doubling, you're going to want to keep him and maybe bring some more in. So yeah, definitely do not trade them there. And then number 10, Malik Chow. So I get this would be a super frustrating one. So I know he was a very popular buy a couple weeks ago after his big haul, but so he scored 29, then a -5, 15, 5, and -2. I get frustrating. However, he's still in a good defensive. He's in a good defensive team. Newcastle are the third highest defending XCG this year, and I just think, yeah, he's still an option. I don't know if I would be selling him out if I owned. I just don't think it's worth a trade. I think he's still a more than capable option that you can have playing there. So that wraps up the 10 most traded out. As you can see, I probably don't agree with most of them. I do think it's mostly team dependent though with what you're doing. Let's have a look at the 10 most traded in for the week there. And number 1, João Pedro. And number 1, I disagree with. I don't like the trade in at all. I completely get he's hauled back to back. He came on at half-time and sort of got goal and assist, I think it was, for Chelsea on the weekend. He looked really good. He also scored in the cup game and he scored the week before. So he's definitely in form at the moment, João Pedro, and the fixtures are there for Chelsea. However, as I mentioned, there's only 3 good fixtures left for Chelsea until they sort of swing. And with trades being at such a luxury, I just don't think he's worth the trade in at all. I would not be doing João Pedro in for Saka at all. The only way I would be doing that trade is if Arsenal lose and Chelsea win and Chelsea end up doubling in 26. Then I think you can do that trade. Otherwise, João Pedro, I do not like that trade at all. I just don't think he's a good option. He's been such a troll. If we just have a look at his scores up until he's sort of done well recently, 1, 3, 2, 14. Yeah, he's just a troll. I think I'm just personally scarred. But yeah, look, Burnley scored 0 points. Arsenal leads. I don't know. He's just been a bit of a troll for me this year. And so, yeah, I don't agree. Well, I don't like the trade-in. I get why you're doing it. They've got 3 great fixtures. He's in some good form. However, as I said, just wait for the FA Cup and kind of reassess after that. Number 2, Bruno Fernandes. I think he should be number 1. He should have been number 1 for the past 5 weeks. Look, he's killing it. Bring him in. Nothing more to say, really. Captain option every week when he's playing at the cam. Number 3, Cucurella. This is a trade I actually do like. So he's going to start making cash now. He's got a -8 break even. Not that cash really matters at this point in the season. However, it's always better that they're making money rather than losing money. And so, yeah, after that sort of red card, -5 score, he's scored 9, 8, 19. As I mentioned, they've got the good fixtures. He obviously didn't play, came on at half-time, and has got the goal for Chelsea there. And yeah, he is, as I mentioned last week, he's someone that is really enticing to me. It's either Cucurella or Reece James. The logic is there with Reece James as well. I think I might go for Reece James if I were to go for a punt now at this point. You've missed Cucurella's points, so I get Cucurella's going to make cash and Reece James is going to lose cash. However, as I said, with SuperCoach, we get the team list an hour before. So if Reece James is benched or just not playing, you can easily just sub him off. But if he's starting, he should at least play 60 minutes, and 60 minutes is good enough usually for Reece James. But if you don't have the money, or if you want to play it safe, I really do like the Cucurella trade-in as an option there, especially with the next 3 fixtures. However, I think it just depends on A, your backline setup, and then B, how the FA Cup games go there. So yeah, like that trade. Number 4, Gabriel. Yeah, I don't even know why he's still being traded in. Everyone should already have him. He is the best defender this year. Number 5, Enzo Fernandez. I agree. I think he's a great trade-in option. I think he could be higher. I think he's a better Chelsea option. I think if you were to go for one Chelsea option out of, say, Cucurella, Pedro, Enzo, Palmer, I would be going with Enzo. I think Enzo, just his returns, his consistency, constantly playing 90 minutes, being on penalties when Cole Palmer isn't on the field, which recently has been more often than not, I think it's just a great option. So, yeah, I like the trade-in of Enzo. I think it's a bit late, however, there's still the 3 fixtures there, the next 3 coming up, and he could end up being someone that is just a season keeper. So he's sitting right now at an average of 9.6, so that's definitely keeper level facts. Isn't that funny? Foden and Enzo have the same average there. However, Foden has lost 10 mil. So yeah, that just shows Foden scored like those 80 points or whatever in like 5 weeks and hasn't really done anything since then. But yes, Enzo Fernandez, I like the trade-in option. Jared Bowen, I agree, same. I like the trade-in option. If you're lower on trades, I think I probably do prefer Jared Bowen as a longer-term pick, just because more of a fixture play, and he's also guaranteed on pens. So obviously Cole Palmer is guaranteed on pens when he starts. However, a start isn't guaranteed for Palmer at the moment. However, Jared Bowen is pretty much guaranteed to always play for West Ham and be sort of in and around the points for them there. And so, as I mentioned, now he's got the pens. He's got back-to-back good scores. His price is only going up. So yeah, negative 13 break even. So if he scores 7, he's going to go up 1.7 mil. So he's going to be over 10 mil. I think he can easily score an assist this weekend. A pretty good fixture against Burnley. So yeah, I like that trade-in a lot there. Number 7, Semenyo. He's also being traded in now. I'm not as sold on that trade-in as an owner myself. Like, I have him. I like it. I'm glad I have him. He is a pod. Let's have a look at his ownership in the top 1% while we sort of discuss his options. Oh, it's not going to load because we are so early into this recording for the week for the EPL SuperCoach. And so while it loads, let's just have a quick shout out to the video comments last week. So yeah, if you guys are still watching, comment down below. I'll get back to you in the video, or I'll reply there. So Lockie said he hates Jared Bowen, was having doubts about that trade all week, and just goes to show you're better off saving a trade and the importance of teamless, as I'd probably have held both trades mentioned if he'd stayed up for the game. So yeah, it really is a massive benefit to being able to be awake and adjust to sort of the teamless. I know it didn't work out this weekend with sort of Cucurella owners. However, more often than not, you will be out in front being up for that sort of news. Another comment here from Jesse. He's asked, who is the best defender to get for trading these two? So he was trading Dorgu and Cherky out, and he needed a midfield and defender. His defenders are Gabriel, VVD, Cucurella, Konate, and Dorgu. Midfielders are Bruno, Rice, Morgan Gibbs-White, Palmer, and Cherky. He's got 23 million for a midfield and a defender. Currently got Matty, Cash, and Enzo. And Jai, mate, I think those are the exact trades I would have done as well. So let me know in this video if you did those trades. I like those trades. I kind of advocated for those trades in the last week's video. So yes, give us an update if you did those trades. If you did those trades, it would have been a 20-something point swing. So yes, hopefully you did those trades for there, mate, Jai. And yeah, the only other comment from the last vid was there, Lockie saying that the game week 31 sort of the doubles and blanks could be trouble for my defence, which I agree and is certainly on my radar. However, we just got to sort of see how the fixtures play out there until I can reassess and formulate a plan with sort of my remaining trades. So, let's have a quick look at Semenyo. 10% ownership in the top 1%. I love that. Also, Calafiori played on the weekend off the bench, came back on, and so he's coming back now for Arsenal, and so he is someone I am also considering for that game week 26 double. I could just triple up with the Arsenal defence with Gabriel, Timber, and Calafiori with Raya, Saka, and Rice. However, that would absolutely kill me in the blank, and I've only got 10 trades left. So, as I said, I'm not sure with the Dorgu trade. I think it's just perfect to just keep rolling my trades until I'm definitive and we get confirmation with what's happening with the doubles and blanks. So, back to the trade-ins. Yeah, Semenyo, I do like it. I think he's going to be a good option for City. As I mentioned there, he's playing up front for them. He's in good form. He's in probably almost better form than Haaland at the moment. And yeah, I really cannot knock the buy at all. Back-to-back goals sort of for Semenyo. And he's also going to be playing a lot of their EPL games, as he's not registered for the European League, the Europe leagues in Europe. However, I do think that's only the group knockouts. So once they progress through the knockouts, he can then be less nailed in the Prem there. But again, it's the same option as Foden and Cherky and all those sort of players. If you get the team list and if he's benched, you can just bench him. However, if he starts, I think he's a good option. So yeah, that one I'm a little bit indecisive about. Like, I think I would probably grab Mbeumo over Semenyo. I'd definitely grab Mbeumo over Pedro. But yeah, I probably would grab Semenyo over him there. But there's also the other option I'm pretty interested in is a little Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa there. Villa's fixtures, as I mentioned last video with Matty Cash, they do turn pretty good for like the rest of the season, apart from a game here and there. And yeah, certainly someone I'm looking at. And they've also got a good fixture in game week 31, and they're guaranteed not to double. So that is also another caveat or a selling point as to that trade there. Number 8, Szoboszlai. I don't know if I like this trade. Liverpool have looked better recently. He's also on all the sort of set pieces for them. However, he's just so up and down, isn't he? So he's going to make a bunch of cash if you bring it in. He's got a -12 break even with sort of back-to-back big scores there. However, if we take out those last two scores, he's scored 0, 4, 3, 9, 4, 9, 19, 7, 7, 11. So between 13 and 23, he got one double-digit return. Everything else was single-digit apart from, his past two there. So, look, I don't know if I would be bringing in Semenyo. Szoboszlai, sorry. I definitely wouldn't be bringing him in if I was trading in a midfielder there. Number 9, Hugo Ekitike. Again, why is he now back in the most brought in? He was in the most traded out last week. Now he's the most traded in. Just hold whoever you've got up front. Just hold. Apart from Watkins, I think you can pretty much just hold your striker. Stop chasing the points, and I would be looking, as I said, to bring in Thiago sort of in a couple weeks there. So definitely wouldn't be looking to bring in Ekitike for the time being. And number 10, Cole Palmer. Probably another player I wouldn't look to bring in. He's someone I own. Not happy that I own him. He hasn't done anything this year. He's been such a troll in SuperCoach and in FPL. And so, yeah, he's just someone that I'm pretty much stuck with for the next 3 games. And then after the 3 games, I'm going to be reassessing from there. But that wraps up the 10 most bought and sold players for the week. Let's just have a look at how we're lining up for the week, what I'm looking at doing, and sort of captains and vice captains there. So this week it gets a bit interesting. So Arsenal have a very tasty fixture in defence, so I will definitely be playing those. Arsenal defenders. Dorgu, just a placeholder. Munoz, I think I do want to play Munoz this week. And Guehi, I don't think I want to play. So, Liverpool at home for City. I don't like that that fixture. However, Palace, have got Brighton. And I do like that fixture for Munoz. And he played his first 90-minute game on the weekend, I believe, since returning, coming back from injury. Yeah, played 90 minutes. And so he's someone that I think, we know is attacking threat, and there was a couple of chances in the game. He was wide open. They just didn't pass to him. So I think he's just taken his time to warm back up into the squad, and especially being a sort of pod option there, I'm pretty keen to play him this week there. So yeah, that's how we'll line up in the back line. In midfield, Bruno Fernandes will be the VC this week. Yeah, will be the VC. You probably could just captain him, but we may as well play it safe with Bruno vice captain, and then if he ends up going nuts, we can always just sub Raya on and bring in Whiteworth, or I can decide to bring on Dorgu. I know I can't because Dorgu will have already played, but yes, I can easily loop this week. So yeah, Bruno vice captain, Decky Rice. Oh, this is interesting. So, I do want to play Bowen this week as well. So, I might be looking at a 3-5-2, hey, this week. A 3-5-2. So, let's vice captain Bruno. Let's sub on Timber. Bruno, yes. Now, look, all three of these options. Declan Rice, very good captain option. Enzo Fernandez, I like him as a pod captain option. Cole Palmer, do I just double down on him and captain him this week? So obviously vice captained him last week. We'll get the news sort of the 1am games on Saturday night if he's going to be starting or not. And if he starts, I could just captain him. They've great fixture against Wolves. I get Wolves have been better, however, I still think it's a fixture to target. Fixture to target's also Bowen there against Burnley. He could do pretty well. But yeah, Decky Rice against Sunderland will end up being the safe option. However, if Saka plays, he could be a good pod option as well there. Bugger, it's so early doors. So for now, I think I'm just going to go Enzo. I might switch to Palmer, might switch to Bowen, might switch to Rice, but I think Enzo's a great pick. As I said, he's been killing it recently, pretty much double-digit returns for the last couple. Should keep it going with the good fixtures. Depending on Palmer, if Palmer doesn't start, I'll definitely be playing Enzo there on penalties. But even without the penalties, I think he's just a good option. As we saw on the weekend, he scored without the penalty there. So yeah, and then up top will be the decision. So if Saka starts, I will be playing Saka. However, I don't know what the news is or what the go is with Saka, so I'll bench him for now. And as I said, if he starts, I might bring him on and I'll play him over Semenyo this week for sure, especially with Semenyo up against Palace, and then sort of the decision comes down to Semenyo against Liverpool or Munoz against Brighton. But yes, I'll put that down. I'll put that decision out later in the week, as there's no real reasons or news yet to reassess. I'm just saying gut call. I don't think Saka is actually going to start this weekend. However, I think he's going to play both the doubles. I think Arsenal will end up winning, and I do think that Arsenal or Saka will play both the games in the double, and I think that's when he's going to return and go nuts. And that's when he's going to pay dividends for all the owners in either SuperCoach or in FPL there. So yes, I urge the hold of the trade there. Let's give him some time. I have faith that he's going to pay us back for the haul there. But I think that's how we're going to line up for the week there. So if you've enjoyed the content, please guys, give it a like, comment down below any trade ideas or thoughts or anything you're contemplating. Because I'm putting this video out so early, I will definitely be able to either reply to your comments down there below. Also, shout out to the Twitter, Hooked on SuperCoach. If you don't follow already, give it a follow. If you're a fan of Twitter or X, if you got it, it's just, Hooked on SC there, 415 followers. And yes, there's a bit of SuperCoach preseason content coming out there, NRL, and there's also the EPL SuperCoach content on there. But yes, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, remember, subscribe, and get keen. The trial games for the NRL is kicking off this weekend, and the SuperCoach NRL season will be right around the corner. But let's hope we can push into the top 50 in SuperCoach and sort of see how high we can get. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers, guys.